and start to run.
Now I'm the chosen one. Oh no! Hello! How are you? Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. There you go. What an intro. 50 years ago, the 50th anniversary on Valentine's Day, Black Sabbath released one of my best friends, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. There you go. My name's Quinlan. Welcome to Melbourne Musos Facechook Live. Okay. On a rainy Melbourne day, wow, isn't that fantastic? Flash flooding. Turn round quick. Oh, there you go. Black Sabbath and all that. And you know what else? Oh my Lord. Have a look at this one. Who Live at Leeds. The original. Okay, I've had this, coffee stains and all, since I was 13. And there you go, sort of thing. Boop. And I've got a couple of the CD remasters and everything in the other room, but this is the one. So what I'm going to do tonight, good Facechookers, is take you down memory lane to 50 years ago. Now, what's happened? This is the day, this beautiful masterpiece of an album that redefined rock. Okay, Black Sabbath, the masters of heavy metal and all that. Their first album, brilliant. Okay, that's what it is. And on the very same day it was released, The Who were at Leeds University and recorded this album. It was released later on in May 1970. And this is regarded by many, me included, as the most explosive live album ever recorded. They captured something special here. And that's Live at Leeds. Whoa. That is like opera to me. So if I start crying like a fat old Italian man, you know, that kind of thing, listening to Pavarotti or something, forgive me. That's what it is. And the iconic intro. That's how it starts. Back in the day. And then Ozzy comes in, you know. Oh, wow. There we go. There it is. But I better stop gushing about these two albums, start explaining them. Okay. So, this is all about space. In space, no one can hear you drum. But what happens is, what goes on with these two masterpieces is this wonderful study of space when you're composing music. When you're doing a four-piece, and you go with what you've got. They're your four band members. Each one is special in their own way. And what you do is if the composer of the songs, like Pete Townsend, he leaves space for Keith Moon on drums with The Who. Oh my God, my favourite madman. There you go. And with Sabbath, Bill Ward, jazz drummer who started heavy metal. He swings. Everything. He's brilliant. I love him. Incredible stuff. But what happens is space, okay? So what happens is, one of the things about The Who is this wonderful, you know, like a bar, all these different things. I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things from Live at Leeds, of course, tonight. And Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. And there we go. And what I'm going to do is one that isn't played that often, actually. It's The Wizard. It's track 2. Okay, and what we've got is Tony Iommi, the composer, but they all composed. Geezer wrote the lyrics for Ozzy to sing, and as far as the band is concerned, they were one of the famous bands for priding themselves on doing a four-way split, because they were all equal and within and of each other. They were a team, and that had all their ups and downs and in-betweens, and who hasn't? But those 4 men, what they have delivered to us, unbelievable. 50 years today. Valentine's Day, no less. Anyway, Wizard. Ozzy starts with the harmonica. And that goes in. Guitar. And I'll come back to that, you see. Now, what we've got, they're shouts, you see. So what you're doing, so because Bill Ward, he cited his favourite drummers as Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, Louis Bellson. Wow, for a heavy metal drummer. Mwah, there you go. Now, what happens is they're called shouts, you see. So you might be playing a jazz thing. What is this? It's a bell cymbal. Anyway, there you go. So what goes on here is that Bill Ward was picking up the accents that Tony Iommi wrote for him and left him. It's a little bit like Pagan's Paddock back in the day, sort of thing. That sort of stuff, get your gun sent off half forward, give him space to move, that kind of thing. And that's what you do, that kind of thing. When you've got the personnel to be able to be masters of what they do. So that's what goes on there. Now let me take you through it, okay? I'm just going to go, these are the shouts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bam, bam, oh. Bam, ba, da, 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 ba, da, bam, bam, bam. Bam, 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 da, 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 bam. Tony Iommi guitar solo. There's a second track ever after they scared the bejesus out of everybody with the first one. What is this? And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba 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 let me take you through that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, go sick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba 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 ba. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's what happens there, you see. And that is also the verse. One day a wizard walked by, and all that sort of stuff. So what I'm doing here is explaining space to you within a classic song, The Wizard. Okay, so not often played. It's not, it's not like War Pigs. That's got plenty of space too. But Paranoid. Andy, you said, oh, I'm feeling paranoid about this. But not this time. I'll do that when its anniversary comes up. But the first album, 50, what a Valentine's Day present. Here, darling. Does everyone know the story? Okay, so what happened? Right, so let me go through it. I'll talk about Bill Ward now. Okay, so because I've talked about the Wizard, let me get my notes. There we go. So that I haven't finished with that yet, so I'm going to put that to the side. Bill Ward was born on the 5th of May, 1948. And there you are. I've already mentioned his favourite drummers were Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, and Louis Bellson. Now, Bill Ward was with Tony Iommi in a band called Mythology. And Geezer and Ozzy was in a band called Rare Brew. And then they joined up and they called themselves Earth. They found out that there was another band called Earth, and they were a pop band. Quite a famous story in one of their docos that they turned up and the guy booked the wrong band, so everyone was ready to go late, and they went, you know. Sorry, kids. And there's that. So they renamed him. What happened was they couldn't get a gig, right? So Geezer, and they're looking out this, cold rehearsal room window on the first floor somewhere, and everyone's lining up to go and see a Dracula movie. Right? They're lined up around the block. And so Geezer said, look at everybody going in to, lining up to watch a scary movie. Why don't we start playing scary music? Bang! And Black Sabbath with their first song, and my God, it was set forevermore. And there you go. There you are. So that's it. That's that. And Bill Ward had a beard and all that, and he had it down to a pen nib. Do people remember that? And they used to call him Nibby. Hey, Nibby. And then someone put full stops after it and decided to call it Nativity in Black. So, and there's that one there. So that's Bill Ward. Oh, he's a gent. He's a wonderful man, wonderful drummer. I loved him. Did you know Frank Zappa's favourite Black Sabbath song was Supernaut? Off Volume 4, but I'll get to that one other day. Wrong album. There we go. So we're up to bum 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 bum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What kind of counting was that? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, ba da ba ba. Keep on talking. Now that is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 4. Da 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 da, just keeps walking. Da 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 da, never talking. Ba da ba ba. And that's what it is, you see. Ah, what a drum track! It's got so much space, sort of thing. And that's beautiful. You go with what you've got. What happens, everyone, my way or the highway and all that sort of stuff. But when you've got a band and you know what the people can do, you write for them. That's what Zappa did. That's what Pete did for Keith. He knew he had, everyone knew that was the best rhythm section in rock. God help me, John Entwistle on bass and Keith Moon on drums. Say what you like about my favourite Madman, but what it is they were explosive, absolutely explosive, And you can't quantize the Who. You can't put a metronome to them because they did accelerandos. They came down, they went up, they went around, they did a solo. It's all of this sort of business, And the covers they did. My Lord, here we go. Oh, well, a young man ain't got nothing in the world these days. I said a young man ain't got nothing in the world these days. Ow! But nowadays, Keith Moon would do walking by myself. No, that's another one I'm doing tomorrow. Sorry about that. Let me talk about Young Man Blues now, right? So I've been talking about The Wizard. I'm going to come back. I'm actually not scatterbrained. What I'm actually doing is the subject of tonight's show is space, okay? Keeping space for your rhythm section. Going with what you got, knowing who you have in the band and working within that. And there it is there. People strive to get the perfect sound because it's in their head. But the thing is, nothing happens. You go with what you got. Dear Alan Zavod told me that. It's always stuck. Regular watchers of Facechook and the show. Go with what you got. That's what you got. Let's go with it. We've got to do this. There it is. Okay? And, it's its own kind of perfect, really. There you go. So there it is. Now, I haven't quite finished with the wizard, but I've gone into Young Man Blues. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about that a little bit, which is the first track of the vinyl of Who Live at Leeds. And what happens with that is that I'm going to show you a couple of things that are Keith Moon's trademark, if you like, all that sort of business. One of the things he was big on, he had these beautiful set of hands, as my old teacher H would say. You know, he'd ham it up, he'd be there going like that. But don't underestimate Moon the Loon. He had an uncanny ear, and he and Pete were like that. When you look at things like Young Man Blues, and when they're doing things like, there's one on YouTube where they're live in Tanglewood and all of that stuff, you see them like that. They were like that. And Entwistle was off the side just going, oh yeah, there you go, like that. And his bass was sounding like a plane taking off, and all that sort of stuff. And it's the most incredible concoction of men, people, and all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you three things. He loved a four-stroke gruff. He seemed to always finish, bang, and then he was in. So there's that. Okay, so there's that one there. One of the things is stepping, and for this, you can't see it on Facechook now, but later on tonight I'll have my number of camera shoots, if they all hold up okay, and I'll put in odd sock cam for you there. But what happens, he would step with his two bass drums. Now, the history of two bass drums, I've done this before with Keith Moon. I actually did it on the Ginger Baker special. But what happens was he was arguably the first drummer to use two bass drums in England. And that's because he and Ginger went to a Duke Ellington concert. And the aforementioned Louis Bellson started bass drums, but he wasn't on that tour. But they saw it and they went, ah. And that's where, you know, like fast four for jazz, you might have... There it is there. I'm just stepping through. I'm just really going for a walk on my pedals. And that's one of the great anchors that Keith Moon could do, sort of thing. So look out for that. So it was sort of like, yeah, so it was like... It isn't, he never really got into kind of a you know, that kind of a thing. That came a bit later with, you know, other drummers, you know, sort of thing. I could probably cite Billy Cobham for that on the Spectrum album. I just got that home. Oh, what the hell? And all that sort of stuff. But he would step. That kind of thing there. And work it through. You can hear it when you're going in, not all the time, but in sections. Then the third thing he did, and it's in Young Man Blues, it's a show I did many, many years ago. And it's about negative space, and that's more of an art term, right? Sort of thing when you're creating depth in your sketching or your painting. One of the things that drummers are always sort of saying, and I say it too, because most of the time, what happens is that when you're hitting crash cymbal, you need to play the bass drum with it. So you'd have, you know. Keith would do this sometimes. He's got this. You can hear it in Young Man Blues. He just plays the cymbals, but no bass drum. So what he gets is the in-betweens, you see, because if I'm... what can I do here? Oh, by the way, he never used a hi-hat until later on, towards the end. So I'm not going to use that. He had a cymbal about, sort of about there, and he'd play it like this. He'd play it like just a big hi-hat, like that. So everything was just awash. It was brilliant. Anyway, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play triplets, right? So, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Now you add the bass drum when you're hitting a crash, right? 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. You still hear the flow of the toms, but what happens if you didn't? Different. I'm still doing the same thing. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. And with his fill-ins, John Entwistle would say he didn't do the typical. You can hear that as well, but the thing is, how John Entwistle described it, it's as if he was doing zigzags. You see, so it was like he was going like that, you know. And I've explained that as angles around the drums. You see, so what can happen is that, you know, like sometimes I make jokes with my students. It's a little bit like the mark of Zorro, you know. Zorro. And there it is there. So that's what happened. That's what goes on there. So as you go through Young Man Blues, what am I up to? All the people, they step back when a young man walked back. So you keep the bass drum going. See, stepping. Whoa. Keith. There you go. But you know, nowadays, it's the old man. He's got all the money. And a young man ain't got nothing in the world these days. I see. He got nothing. And then we're off. Dig in, here we go. And oh, he just picked up. He could see Pete. Bang, bang, and he picked up on every one. You have a listen. They were like that. It can be a bit messy, but like Led Zeppelin used to say, loosely tight. All that sort of stuff. So there you go, the Young Man Blues. But then it came down to almost a Latin thing. It came, you know, you get that big chunk, bang, bang, like that. And then he keeps stepping. Three, 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 two, two, three, 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 three. Then you're off again. Then you build all that up. Young Man Blues, a song by Mose Allison. Okay, didn't quite play it like that. He was more of like a blues artist and all that sort of business. But what happens is the Who took Young Man Blues to a whole other level, much like Jimi Hendrix just appropriated Wild Thing, like he did a cover of Wild Thing. It was nothing like the Trogs, because the Trogs put in a recorder solo in the middle of their one. But good old Jimmy just burnt the guitar. There you go. And the Who and Hendrix had a bit of a loving feud. They did the Monterey thing together. You know, Hendrix is so famous for Woodstock, but you've got to remember he came on so late that most of the people had left. The Who were the like that for Woodstock, and there you go. Funnily, I bring up Woodstock because Scott Hayward, you've asked me about your son Jacko being enamoured with Santana's performance at that day, but not today. I'll do that next week. All right, so there you go. That is Young Man Blues. He got nothing. He's got sweet stuffle. Bang. Got to have a gong. He had a gong behind him. Keith had a wonderful relationship with his roadies, and there was one time when he was supposed to be hitting the gong, and the roadies pulled it back about 2 feet. Thinking he's going to, oh shit, I missed. He fell off the back of the drums. Legs akimbo. Oh, you gotta love him. God bless him. Sort of thing. He was crazy, absolutely crazy. I think the only things that kept him from the madhouse was the drums. What he could do on the drums was absolutely unbelievable. Messy, yes, of course, that kind of thing. But the character of what he was able to do. And the other thing was Pete. He loved Pete. Oh, I think they did. Anyway, it was love and whatever. But the thing about it, I mean, they had their ups and downs. It was a pretty volatile group. But the thing about that is that Pete gave him all that space to be Keith Moon, to be who he was. And look how that delivered. We're going to 50 years for this album, and we're still, I'm trying to still work out what the hell was going on. To me, it's like opera, like I said, that kind of thing. So, that is Young Man Blues. Oh, what a way to start the vinyl album. When you get the remasters and all that, it starts with Heaven and Hell and all that. That's fine. But the selection of the vinyl is unsurpassed for that kind of thing. And there you go. Let me talk about Keith a little bit there. I've got the history and all that sort of business. He was born on the 23rd of August, 1946. He passed away on the 7th of September, 1978. He was born in Wembley, Middlesex, Alperton, part of Wembley and Middlesex. Earliest English drummer for 2 bass drums, as I said, beat Ginger Baker to it. 2 things really affected him. The accidental death of his chauffeur, Neil Boland, in the early 70s. They were set upon by skinheads. And Neil Boland was his chauffeur come security guy and tried to stand up to them. And the bastards kicked him down while Keith jumped behind the wheel and tried to, I suppose, support, because he had his wife in the car too. And Neil Boland ended up underneath the car, so he passed away. And that changed him, as it would anyone, really. And then his marriage broke down. But anyway, I'm going to keep talking up because I don't want to do that. Hall of Fame, 1982, Modern Drummers Hall of Fame. 2011, whether you love him or loathe him, second greatest rock drummer ever. He was voted. And there you go. And no hi-hat. And one of his funny things, because he was always blowing up TVs and making jokes and all that sort of stuff and throwing things out of windows and stuff. But when he got asked about his time with The Who, oh, me, I've just been filling in for 15 years. Oh, it's brilliant. The character of these people, they're gorgeous. So the vinyl that I'm talking about is Young Man Blues. Then it's followed by Substitute, Summertime Blues, Shaken All Over. And then this is where I'm going to now, My Generation, right? Now what they do on the live album is really quite amazing. It is opera. Whenever I'm blue, whenever I'm down, whenever I'm at a loose end, for some reason My Generation comes on. And you do the song. People try to put us down. And it goes on like that. You know the song. It's a classic. There you go. Oop, I die before I get old. And so on. But one of the big things is his sextuplets. Getting into that during the end. And it fades out on the very original. When they did it live at Monterey, that was the bit where they started wrecking stuff and all of that business. But by the time they got to live at Leeds, what they did was a medley. And what they actually did with that was use the track Underture from Tommy, right? So what happens is that you've got the overture of Tommy, and then you go through Amazing Journey and all that sort of business, and halfway through there's the underture, and that's bring ba 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 bum, bring ba 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 bum, ring bum ba ba bum, bing bing. Now after that track, I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to bring it down. or it's got 16 sections, so I've got to have to work quick, aren't I? But what happens is I'm going to really go through the underture with you in a bit of detail and talk about all the other bits. But after My Generation is Magic Bus, which is a clave. It says bum 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 chicka bum 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 chicka bum bum. But Keith was using his claves, and John Entwistle was keeping the Bo Diddley rhythm together. But I'm going to do the underture, right? So what happens is you've got, the sextuplets. For those of you who don't know, a sextuplet is 6 notes inside of one beat. Okay, 6 notes played in the time of 4, if you will. You know, that kind of thing. So you might have semiquavers, 1 eana, 2 eana, 3 eana, 4 eana. But then you put in 6. What you can do with that is single strokes like that. You could do a paradiddle diddle like I did before. That's a Buddy Rich weapon. So it's right, left, right, left, left. Did I explain that last week? I think I did. That keeps it on one side, you see. If you want to go side to side, wax on, wax off, like that, use a paradiddle, double paradiddle. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and, but then 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. There it is there. He does a lot of that. Then he goes into, after the song, we got the idea of the song, he goes into the sextuplets. Previously, he would have wrecked the drum kit at that point, but it goes into the solos, and he's stepping again. Bump, 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 bump. And there you go. It's like a locomotive going forward, you know. Then it stops. See me, feel me, touch me, heal me. Am I you? Give it back. 1, 2, fill in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sight man at your feet. There it goes there. It's a 2 and 2 usually. So it'll be 2 and 2 is 2-bar phrases and a 2-beat fill-in at the end. So you get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and fill in. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. Sextuplets again, you see? There you go. Listening to you. And there, it's Pete swinging. Now, one of the things about Pete Townsend and Keith Moon, when you listen to it, and then when you watch it even more, you'll see Keith Moon singing along with Roger, you see. So, you know, it's melodic drumming. Dear Alan Brown, the famous Melbourne jazz drummer, now passed, R.I.P., but he used to always say, I just sing along, Chris. That's what he told me on the show many years ago. Well, just sing along. Just sing the melody. There you go. That's what he do. And that's what I found with Barry Barlow of Jethro Tull. You know, everyone knows I'm a tragic for Tull. And you just hear him, you think, what's he doing? How's he doing? Oh, it's a melody. Oh, that makes it easy. And there you go. So that's what goes on there. But what happened is, like, when you're hearing Keith, he wasn't always just going nuts. He would actually sort of play the groove while there's the singing. And when Pete did the big power chord with the big arm swing, that's when he'd go fully sick. And watch him singing, you know. It's always really important to be sort of independent with your voice while you're playing, you know. Listening to you, I get the feel and feeling the tune. I get the heat falling on you. Sextuplets there, I get the There it is. There you go. Pete swinging. Half time. So very long. Now this is, it's sort of like a half time, but it morphs into a bit of a blues beat after this sort of bit here. And then it goes into a long accelerando, like that, you see. And that's what goes up there. And it goes into all this business, back into the guitar solo and stuff, but then it goes into underture. I'm keeping on going, by the way. I know I'm over. This is going to be an hour show, and I always planned it that way. There you are. So get another beer, and I've still got a bit of a way to go. I'm going to keep going until the tape runs out. There you go. So your underture is bum, bum, bang, bang, bam, bum, Now, I'm being a bit messy because I'm stopping here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. That's the catches that I was doing for the Wizard before with Bill Ward. I've come back full circle to space. If you've got a drummer like Keith Moon or Bill, give him space, you know, like Pagan's paddock in the footy, you know. Oh yeah, give Wayne the forward line so he can go for a bit of a run, you know, sort of thing. I used to do it with Brendan Favola as well in Carlton back in the days when he was booting 10 goals a game and all that sort of stuff back in the early 2000s and things. Plenty of space. Just give me room to move, man. There we go. And that's what goes on. So you got the build. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and build. And slight change. Bum, bum, boom, bum, 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 then it goes quiet, and then Townsend does the big swing, fring, fring, and then you just hear Keith bring it down. That kind of. And he had this little thing going sometimes too. And this is Neil Peart's thing. And he always said he got it from Keith Moon because Keith Moon was one of Neil Peart's from Rush, his favourite drummers. Is when you're doing like, that's one thing, say semiquavers. Why not? You see what I'm doing there? So you can hit a crash but still move around the drums at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive, you see. So you'd see that in his playing as well. Now, so much of this is, I suppose, just organic. He just sort of went through it because he's literally played all the time. Who was a hard-working, slogging band. And he loved touring and getting up to all sorts of crazy antics and stuff. But when you just play at that level every night on those long, grueling tours, because the way that Live at Leeds came about was they released Tommy. It was a massive success, and they just grinded themselves into the ground through 1969 with their the big concert being, Woodstock, when everyone was there. This sort of thing, and all of that, and you can see their performance there as well. The bit where Pete just throws his SG into the crowd like that. But what happens is at the end of that tour, they said that they were going to do a live album. That was always going. So they, their road manager brought in the road tapes, and they were exhausted, and Pete was there going, "Oh, sod that." Look, just take the truck to Leeds. That's our next gig. Let's just do that. God, burn those bloody things. That was the thing, they burnt the tapes. They didn't smoke them. That's a boom tish for Shannon. There you are. I hope you're watching. Anyway, there you are. So what happens is, that's what happened. So figure this. They toured all through 1969. At the end of the tour, they collapsed in a wreck, sort of thing. They had 3 weeks and they had a couple of dates. They had Leeds University and Hull University the next night. And Pete, sod that, I'm not going to listen to all those road trains. Just record us at Leeds. So get this. They were that good. You got to get good when you're doing that kind of music for a year straight all the time. Bang, bang, bang. And then you take 3 weeks off, right? You go have a holiday. You have Christmas with the kids and the missus, all that sort of stuff. And thanks, darling, back on the road now. And bang, off they went. They were crack. It was like, that's why they caught them fresh and tight and like that. That's what happens. So that's what happens with my generation. And I'm sort of halfway through. And the bit that I'm talking about is the bit where Pete was giving Keith space. So, string 2, 3, 4, string 2, 3, 4, string 2, 3, 4. I am the leprechaun. That's where I got that from. And so like bum, 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 that bit there, it's very similar to the beginning, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Roll, 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 roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Roll, roll, go sick. Ah, like that. So it'd be bum, 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 bum. And that's what that is. That's one of my favourite bits because I actually put a love heart on that. It's like semi-brief, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now Keith's going crazy underneath, but you've got semi-briefs there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 minims and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 crotchets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that is sort of like, bang, and away they went, with that sort of stuff. And then it goes back, repeats itself a little bit, all the bits I've already explained. Go and listen to it. It's a piece of, it's not even music, it's just art. It's a masterpiece, is what it is. Now, I'm going to keep on going. Where's my notes? The notes I tell you. So there's Underture, right? And there it is there. And then what you've got is it comes down, and then, has anyone heard of a false ending? What happens is that Pete plays this riff, but he only plays half of it, right? So it goes, brings it right down, bit of guitar work, beautiful, very nice, very nice. Turns up the volume. Da 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 in the background. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 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 digging, 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 digging. Finishes off, da 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 Big Phil. Feedback everywhere. Hit all your cymbals at the same time. What is this that stands before me? And then he comes up, Pete Townley. Thank you very much. Thank you. After all that. That's why I love that album. Please, for homework, get another beer and sit down. It's a shit night. It's raining. All that stuff. And just listen to it. Just listen to the vinyl version. Because, of course, the full concert, they used to play for hours, right? All that sort of business. But what Pete did, I said, look, I'll just do these songs for the vinyl. And it's the pacing. Young Man Blues, right? Substitute. Summertime Blues. Shaken All Over. Then that on side 2. And then Too Much, The Magic Bus, and all that. And it's just, that's what it is. That's what stands the test of time. That's one of the reasons Keith Moon's the second most loved drummer, if you will, in rock and roll, after obviously John Henry, you know, that kind of thing. So, there's that. My favourite live album, I've got it here, Underture. Go check it out. And Space. You take the space and you get a composer who knows what their band can do and can do things like, okay, these people can deliver this, I'm going to write that. You know, that kind of thing. And look what happened with The Who and Black Sabbath, because that's today, Valentine's Day, you know, that kind of thing. And then look what happened with Led Zepp and all your others. I can quote Jethro Tull, all that sort of, all the greats and all that, but it's the 50th anniversary of two of the most important albums in rock and roll, okay? I'm going to wrap the show up now. I've gone 50 minutes, I suppose. Yeah, so there you go. I've got tapes running out now and all this sort of business. Where am I? Yeah. So I've only got about 9 or 10 minutes and all that sort of stuff. And I have a dedication. I did all right today. I thought I was going to go to water. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think that I was going to do a show today. A dear Facebook friend of mine, I found out late last night that she passed away on Tuesday. So the reason I was playing fairly hard was for Samantha Doll. What a rock and roll chick she was. What a beautiful lady. We collaborated 6 years ago. We have very much the same politics, I suppose. And she wrote this beautiful letter about the death of Reza Barati. You might remember back in 2014. He was killed at Manus Island. And we collaborated on that because it was so touching what she wrote and with what she did. She was such a beautiful soul. And I wish I'd got to meet her. We were just Facebook friends like so many of you out there and all that. And in some cases, my Facebook friends seem to have come closer than people I know, some distant cousin somewhere that I'd love to meet. But I'm the only Quinlan in Victoria, so I'm a little bit, you know, that's the way it works. I don't, you know, my cat's waiting for me. It's fairly pathetic. But anyway, but what it is I want to dedicate this show to her memory. There's a lot of that going around at the moment. It's not good. Anyway, I had a ball doing this because there's amongst my most favourite things. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, don't worry about it. Just play those 2 albums, sell everything, have a piss up, okay? There you go. And, you know, I went off happy, okay? That sort of stuff. So take care. Hold your people a little bit closer tonight, perhaps, because it is Valentine's Day, hey? There you go. So, my name's Chris Quinlan. This is Melbourne Musos Facechook Live. Two of the most important albums in rock history is what I did today. There is... what is this that stands before me? And what I spent most of my time... I hope I did half. But Who Live at Leeds. I was just going to do Who Live at Leeds today because I knew that was coming, and I knew that for a long time. And you know what happened with Black Sabbath, Volume 1, thinking Led Zepp, with Black Sabbath, is that of course I've liked Geezer's Facebook page and Tony Iommi's Facebook page, and they both put up. I just woke up this morning to the picture of this, and just 50 years, and there it is. I love those albums. Take care, all. Hold everyone close. Hug them. Love them. If you're worried about someone, message them. That you might get told to piss off, you know. You might get told you're a dirty bastard or something, but at the same time, at least you know you tried, okay? So take care and look after people.
Oh! What is this?